It's time. It's time. It's fuzzy time. How are we doing, people? We are back. We are back after not streaming yesterday when I said that I would. I was also planning to go on another show yesterday. I believe it was on Jez's channel, but that didn't materialize because shit was happening, basically. Shit was happening in my personal life, and it was just like, I've just come home from work and I've had a late lunch. I've not had much to eat. I'm absolutely sick and tired of the day, and then everything else going on at home as well at the same time, which basically just added to all the crazy stresses that life likes to throw at people. But we are, alas, we are back. We're back today, and my word, my good lord, we've had a lot of things going on today. An absolute boat ton of things going on, which is great for me because I've got some things to discuss. Um, a few potentially promising things, a few promising situations, a few very annoying situations, um, some shock as well, some shock horrors, but then also I think just overall it's like let the panic ensue because now we're in the point of the transfer window that everything that this club has not acted upon, they are realizing it now with days to spare. And now they're clicking into gear. Now we see the reports and everything come flying in spade loads at a time. It's like someone, that's digging what I say, it's like one person digging. It's like a whole group of people trying to dig a hole in the beach, right? It's, when you go to a beach, and there's loads of blokes there with the sandcastle building kit, with their buckets and spades, but they ain't interested in building sandcastles or anything like that. They ain't interested in that. They're taking them spades and they're finding a spot. It's just the most suitable spot on that beach. And just start digging. Just start digging the hole. And that's it. They just keep digging a hole and that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. And it's like a mutual like gathering. But everybody that has these spades just gathers at this hole. It's incredible. It's just you dig a hole and everyone starts to join in. And it just never stops. You might as well be digging to China at this point. But yeah, basically, panic is commencing based off of what we're seeing going on with transfers. The club are actually pulling their finger out and actually doing business now that they could have essentially done months ago, quite literally months ago, right? Because the transfer window's been open since the 10th of June, so it has been over 2 months now. Not great, is it? Really, really, really not great. So essentially, we've got a matter of days left before the transfer window shuts. About 4 days. 4 days we've got to do all the business. Um, and this, in the description, I've mentioned that we've got 5 days because let's be real, all of these crazy reports and all the bustling business, the late stages of a transfer window started essentially yesterday, and somewhat late the day before. But we're going to go through the uh, the subjects of this stream, and I'm probably going to not be around for too long. But we've got a lot of things that we need to cover, and we've got to discuss. We've got to talk about these things. So, as we know, Sofian Amrabat, the guy that has been priority number 4 for a very, 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 very long time. And bless him, he's sat there, not training, not partaking in Fiorentina, putting his footballing career on hold for Manchester United. And we have absolutely taken the piss out of him. We have taken the mickey out of him. To be honest, it's disrespect what we've shown Sofian Amrabat. I do. I feel that it is absolutely just disrespectful that we have left Sofian to sit there and wait and just mull over in his own thoughts, like, oh, I'm hoping I get to go to Man United. But then hours turned into a day, days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, and lo and behold, we are on the doorstep of transfer deadline day. But once again, it's been reiterated that this deal is being stalled by sell to buy. A theory very repetitively used in the summer transfer window, but one that's technically been debunked several times. Sell to buy is the word, is the slogan, is the tagline. Trademark it, people. Trademark it under the Manchester United brand name. Sell to buy, because that's all we've been hearing all summer. Before spending a penny, it was sell to buy. After purchasing Mason Mount, it was sell to buy. After signing Onana, it was sell to buy. And then after signing Rasmus Højlund, it was sell to buy. So, if it's been sell to buy at every single turn, yet we've spent money without needing to sell anybody, but on top of that, without actually selling anybody. I mean, Anthony Elanga, we sold him for £15 million, and we'll go, oh, yay, 15 million for Anthony Elanga. And we can sit there and we can say, yeah, that's good business. In all fairness, for a guy that's never really been a first team player, to get £15 million for someone who's not really been a cornerstone for our team or has really had a legitimate breakout into the first team, I think 15 million sounds like a justified fair price. I think it is a very justified fair price. And I would say, well, okay, let's say we are in the same boat as you. Let's say that we're sympathetic for you. So we're sell to buy. Okay, cool. We'll go along with this game. You, apart from Elanga, have sold Zidane Iqbal, Tahith Chong, which, by the way, he basically just went straight from Birmingham to Luton. No real, in between, oh, he comes back. It was, by looks of it was just an intermediary negotiating the deal there, but we get some money from that sale as well. Matej Kovar goes off to Bayer Leverkusen on a permanent move. I believe that must have been about £7 million, I think it was, somewhere in those regions. So we sell a goalkeeper that kind of fits the bill as a backup goalkeeper, but as a young bloke, I say young, he's actually about 24, I think, at the moment. He's 24. He wants some first team football, so he thought, well, I'd like to go look for my first team football elsewhere. That's fine, that's cool. We'll sell you on, and let's not waste any more time with it. Let's just be straight to the point, right? Let's just be no fiddling around, no nonsense business, no small talks, nothing. Just straightforward. You want to go first team football? We can't offer it to you. Okay, off you go. Happy days. Get a decent move. The player's happy with it. Off you go. Then we get to Fred. Now, the Fred situation, right, is that the media have told us, the stories have told us for a long time that Sofian Amrabat cannot be signed unless we sell either Fred. Now, key word here, either. They were very specific about this. Either Fred or Donny van de Beek. In order, because the deal was ready to go, the bid was set up, the finances were perceived, they knew what they wanted to do, they knew what money they wanted to submit. It was ready to go. It's like that email draft, right? All you got to do is press send, because it's saved. It's ready to go. Just link your contacts, CC whoever you want to be tagged in this email, and then press send. And it's as easy as that. Fred Sale comes along. He goes to Fenerbahce, albeit we don't get an ideal fee, because let's be real, we wanted 20 million pounds at the start of this transfer window for Fred. That was the aim. That was the original plan. That was the goal here. We've not achieved that. So we've underpriced Fred, right? Or we sold Fred for a cheaper price than what United would have wanted, and maybe what the fans were hoping for, because a lot of people were not happy with what money was attained from the Fred sale once the details, the finer details were revealed as to the overall value of the deal, but also its pay structure, how we were going to get the money from that deal. But the thing is that we remember it being the same thing. Either Fred or Donny being sold will trigger the Sofyan Amrabat bid to be submitted. That was word quoted. I believe it was Fabrizio Romano had said it, along with many other journalists that are regarded in the highest order. Sell either one of those two, and the bid for Sofyan Amrabat would happen. We sold Fred. Bid for Sofyan Amrabat seemingly disappears into the shadow realm, never to be heard of or seen of ever again. And fast forward to now, Sofyan Amrabat is still waiting for this bid that was ready to go to be submitted, because the personal terms are no issue. There are no dramas. Quite an easy thing to sort out, right? It should be an easy thing to sort out. A player wants to come to a club. It's like what I like to say. It's the deal that is basically completed. That if the player is happy to do it, the deal's completed. Just submit the bid, have the club accept it, and just like that, the player could probably do all the step processes that he needs to undergo to become a player for another club within the span of a couple of hours. You don't need much time at all to do it. So Sofyan Amrabat is ready. He's absolutely waiting, and he has been waiting for a long time for this deal to happen. But where has it gone? Where's the deal gone? It was. I'm pretty sure that there was also people saying in the news or the media reports, "Oh, Sofyan, he's the next priority." This is our next focus is Sofyan Amrabat, because we do need another midfielder. We've just sold Fred. Let's go get another one to come in. That was the plan. Now we get the talk that it's no. Let's put a stopper on that. We need to sell either Donny or Scott McTominay in order to prime that bid for Sofyan Amrabat. If we're talking like this, we would assume that our bid for Sofyan Amrabat must be about 40, maybe upwards towards 50 million pounds. Unfortunately, that's not what's happening. That's not the case. If anything, people have come out to say that the asking price for Sofyan Amrabat's dropped even further. I was calling it the £26 million steal. It's a cheap steal. Well, it turned out that they were willing to go down to £21 million. Very, very cheap player. Very cheap. Compared to the market alternatives, very, very cheap. But for whatever reason, we are very adamant about sell to buy. And my theory is the club don't actually want to sign him. They don't want to sign Sofyan Amrabat. maybe, regardless of what Ten Hag is saying, that someone else in the club higher up perhaps doesn't rate him. Maybe there's an element of truth to that. It's speculation. But you're trying to connect the dots as to a logical reason as to why Sofyan Amrabat wouldn't be signed. You're trying to make sense of the situation. Why would, probably barring this Olte goalkeeper from Fenerbahce for, what was it, 6 million euros, barring that deal, Sofyan Amrabat would be the cheapest permanent acquisition that Manchester United Football Club would be making in this summer transfer window. Why is the cheapest, right, the most important, most cheapest deal, the hardest one to generate funds for? It's a mystery. Get someone called Scooby-Doo and his gang and get investigating on this case, because we've got some money that has disappeared all of a sudden. But the message was always being the same. It's been consistent. Sell to buy, everybody. Sell to buy. That's the message. That is, it's gospel. It's gospel to Man United and to Murto Madness. Sell to buy. The ultimate tagline that they will weaponize to distract everybody, to veer pressure, fan pressure, away from calling this club out. Because we spent around £180 million without problem. But we were talking about selling first to buy before the window had opened. That was what was being discussed. So we all knew that, well, we know now that the reports over what the transfer budgets for the summer were just complete lies and guesswork, because everyone was saying, well, the United, they don't have a lot of money to spend this summer. There's not much money to be spent, about £140 million. So that got flushed down the toilet very quickly. And once we'd signed Rasmus Højlund, that theory about not much money to spend immediately became obsolete. So we were sort of left trying to reflect on the situation. Well, how much money did we have to spend from the start? How much money? Because everybody would be guessing. No one actually knows factually how much money exactly that there was available to use. But this is the point that I'm trying to get across here. Is even if we had used up, if we had £180 million to spend and we used all of that, don't factor in sales here. So we match exactly the amount that we've had to spend, right? And a bit of an odd one, isn't it? £180 million is all you get given, to be exact. Smells to me like there was actually 200 million to spend. Probably about 200 million pounds to spend for this summer. And I would be much more believing of that. I'd be much more believing of that. I'd be much more sort of on board with the idea that it is about 200 million pounds to be spent. I would agree with that a whole lot more than sort of parking the funds estimation smack bang in the middle of 150 and 200, because that's the thing. You don't really see clubs sort of sticking it right down the middle and saying, well, we either deal in 50s, go 100 million pounds to spend, 150 million pounds to spend, 200 million pounds to spend, 250, 300, 350. You don't really just go smack down the middle and just say, well, we've got exactly £175.554 million to spend. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that. So to me, we'd probably take that figure and round it up in the 50s. So I would say that there was probably about £200 million to spend. Just my theory, probably isn't, might not be true. But £200 million nonetheless. And if we spend about 180 million, there's 20 million left to spend. Now let's include sales into that. So let's have a look. Let's remind ourselves of what money has been acquired from sales. The amount of players that we have sold for. So it's quite a few here. Okay, so Anthony Elanga, 17.5 million euros. I'm not really too sure as to why they're doing it in euros. Fred to Fenerbahce, about 9.7 million euros up front. There's probably going to be more in add-ons to follow. Matish Kovar, about 5 million euros. Alex Tellers, 4.6 million euros. Zidane Iqbal, 1 million euros. Ethan Laird, 0.9 million euros. And everyone essentially that has left has either been on free transfers or has been on loan deals, with Brandon Williams is included in that. So we have generated, what is it? So 20. Yeah, so 25. 30. So we've basically generated somewhere around 35 million euros. Basically the same amount that I said that we had made previously. And how much money are we being asked for Sofyan Amrabat? How much money? Well, 26 million was supposedly the asking price. Someone had a throwaway story to say it would be worth £50 million, but that got rubbished very quickly, and everybody else in the same line of work went the other way, chose the other grain. And then we got the stories that they were willing to reduce the asking price down to 21 million. So let's just say the hypotheticals is that we had 200 million to start with, spent 180, 20 million left over. Then add about the 30, maybe 27.5 million pounds in sales. We've got more than enough, way more than enough money to put in a bid for Sofyan Amrabat. But we are once again thwarted by this big, immovable, impenetrable wall that has a big sell to buy written across the front of it. So I just believe that sell to buy theory is nonsense by the club because they want to save some extra money, right? They'll save some extra money and they'll probably spin it in a story later on, further down the line. They'll probably say, well, the money that we saved this summer, we can spend in January. But knowing this board's track record, we don't want to spend money in January. We know this. Everybody knows this. So the second that this board start talking about another future transfer window, we know they're not going to deliver. We know, factually, we know that they're lying. And this is the thing. I believe that we will. So, I mean, we've already started hearing business potential for January in the form of Ivan Toney. And of course, when you mention Ivan Toney, there's quite a lot of people that might get excited by that because, that's when Toney will be available to play again. Oh, yes, let's go sign Ivan Toney, guys. Yeah, we're all excited for January now because we could sign a striker, Premier League proven, and who's actually quite decent. technically speaking. But that's the problem. Let's be excited, not for this window, for the next window. Let's be thinking about that window, not this one. So, bored, Mercer Madness gets off easy. They get off easy. Everyone turns a blind eye. They're worried about January, guys. We can chill out for the summer. They can chill out for the summer. There's no dramas here. So we get to January. You'll be saying, yay, it's time for Ivan Toney. Get to January 30th or 31st or the 1st of February, and Ivan Toney would still not be signed. Oh, what happened, guys? Oh, we're going to wait for the summer, guys. We're saving some money. We're going to wait for the summer. Right, so we just go around and around and around and around. So we'll probably get the full store of the war chest that's going to be made available to the manager, whoever he may be, because who knows? Ten Hag might not be manager at that point. Can't you put all your cards on the table. You can't rule anything out. Football's football, mysterious game. It's like God, works in mysterious ways, right? Well, that's how the tagline goes. But essentially, we are glued to our seats just, well, what are we doing then? Sofian Amrabat's available. We're posting out, changing the narrative as to who are we selling to enable this deal? Who are we selling to enable this deal? If we sold Scott McTominay tomorrow, Sofian Amrabat would not happen because this board might come out with another story saying, well, we've got now to sell Donny van de Beek to actually be able to afford this bid for Sofian Amrabat. We'll be able to then put in the bid once Scott McTominay or Donny van de Beek is gone. We'll put in the bid. That might happen. Could happen. Let's say it does happen. We go into the next phase of the next 4 days, and we sit here, we say, right, so Scott's gone or Van der Beek's gone, speaking hypothetically. Now what? Now we go bid for Sofian Amrabat, right? Story might come out and say, Manchester United desperate to sell Donny van de Beek or Scott McTominay, whoever's left, in order to be able to fund or bid for Sofian Amrabat. So it would just be trying to rewrite the narrative every single time because they're trying to backpedal it. They're trying to backlog it. Keep pushing the deadline back, guys. Unfortunately, when speaking transfers, that deadline doesn't keep going back. It keeps getting closer and you can't stop it. So we've got 4 days to really, really pull the finger out. And speaking of pulling the finger out, in terms of things that this club don't want to do, leads me on to my next point here. That Maguire apparently, according to today, news outlets today, that West Ham have gone in again for Harry Maguire. They've gone to resurrect. Let's call it resurrect. They want to resurrect their interest in Harry Maguire, but apparently their attempts or their approaches have been blocked. Stop right there, West Ham United. Why have they been stopped? Harry Maguire, this manager wants sold. Why are you stopping a club's interest in a player? Hello? Anybody want to explain that one? That approach, that interesting approach? Yeah, is a bit of an odd one. Usually if I want to sell a player, I don't, it's like in FIFA career mode. If I want to sell a player from my team, I'll stick them on the transfer list. But this board are so backwards thinking, right, that they will get all the interest and all of these really lucrative bids for these players. And I'll just keep saying, no, I don't want to sell him to. No, I don't want to sell him. Don't want to sell him. Why is he on the transfer list then? Why is it out there that the manager wants to get rid of him, but you're blocking clubs' attempts to actually negotiate with a player? Because you don't want to pay him off. You don't want to pay him off. It just don't make any sense. I don't understand it. I can't understand for the life of me. It's like Man United are the only club in the world I seriously, Arsenal would not do this. Tottenham wouldn't do this. Liverpool wouldn't do this. Nobody would do this. State very publicly Harry Maguire will be sold, or they're trying to sell Harry Maguire, but we are blocking clubs' attempts at signing the player. We are rejecting interest. So the club have decided, well, actually, we're unofficially going to say, well, Maguire's not for sale. Cool. So we are literally ghost hunting them. Clubs are ghost hunting. They're trying to find a player that's apparently available on the market, but apparently he's been retracted off the market. So everyone's trying to search up name criteria, but can't find any results. It's yeah, we're struggling out here. Tony Barrow, mate, good to see you. How you doing? Your board has their finger up Arsenal's board and vice versa. Both clubs are a farce. Big up, Fuzzy. Big up, Tony's. I'll tell you what, I mean, as far as club politics goes, I suppose the politics of positivity in Arsenal, that of a poison chalice. Whereas Manchester United, we're just like a toxic waste facility or a nuclear reactor that's about to undergo meltdown. And basically, the whole of the east or the west side of Greater Manchester is literally about to become uninhabitable because that bitch is about to explode with several megatons worth of TNT. But that's just life for Manchester United. That's just how it is. It's always been like that. Big up, Hot Fuzz. Big up, Stephanie Griffith. Good to see you. Thanks for the comment on the if it was the stream. Yes, not yesterday, the day before with Longhaired Yeti. That was a right banger. It was a right banger stream. Going to try and make it a common stable for this channel as well. Some show a week guaranteed with Longhaired Yeti, where we just literally talk absolute smack about everything to do with the Premier League from the previous weekend just gone. Maybe a Wednesday or Thursday, perhaps. It's like our own Bounce Sports Ooze, isn't it? It's kind of like our own sort of budget thing, except we ain't got no studios and fancy chairs and a banger intro to each weekly episode. Plus, man's not driving around in a Mercedes like Expressions is. I ain't that privileged. I ain't got that. But big ups to them anyway. Fantastic show. Do recommend people go watch Bounce Sports Ooze if they haven't done so already. Also, whilst we're all here, make sure you're smashing a like up on the stream, as we are still glued to 0 likes. It's a fat 0 on the like button, guys. It's fat 0. I wonder, can I actually like my own stream? Might have to revert to desperation here. Desperation settings. But anyhow, Harry Maguire, essentially, there we go. That's what I like to see. We've hit first like. Someone has cast the first stone. So big ups to whichever it is that has been casting that like there. Really appreciate it. Fantastic support. So yeah, bit of a crazy one with Maguire's approach and interest in the market being blocked by Manchester United. Makes no sense to me. Really, really doesn't. Really, really baffling to see. Jaminho, good to see you, buddy. How you doing? Hope you're well. Arsenal history and more. It was you. Thank you very much, Jez. Fantastic to see you, mate. Hope you're doing well. I believe it was your show today with Lee Gunner and Ken Ken. I was there to tune in. Lovely show, fantastic show as always. The three musketeers of the Arsenal fan base. Do be sure to go check out those streams if you are interested in those kind of things. But also do subscribe to Arsenal History and More. Subscribe to Jez and all of that good stuff. Now let's go. Let's get into something a bit more positive here, right? A little bit more positive, right? So word has it that Dean Henderson, this what people described or what has been described as the goalkeeping domino effect, right? The dominoes of goalkeeping situations. Now, it has been a game of chess with goalkeeping incomings and outgoings and all of this and all that. You know, it's like you can put your left foot in, your left foot out, in, out, shake it all about kind of thing with the goalkeepers. Well, the latest on goalkeeping is yes, we've got Altay Bayindir. Fantastic that I've actually remembered that name. So we got him coming in to be backup. You know, good, great. You know, goalkeeper that's not going to complain about being the backup choice. You know, it's someone that's happy to play the second fiddle. Dean Henderson, the personality that never wanted to be here or has not wanted to be here since this last summer or the beginning of last summer's transfer window, it looks to be finally on his way out. And it's Crystal Palace seems to be the destination, as Jaminho has seconded here. Dean Henderson is a good signing for Crystal Palace, I think. I think he is. I think, obviously, out of the chaos that is Manchester United, I think it'd be a fantastic level of club to go to. As a loan deal previously to Nottingham Forest was, is an ideal club for Dean Henderson. I think Crystal Palace is, in that sort of same ballpark. I believe Crystal Palace will be. I think Dean Henderson will make himself feel quite at home at Crystal Palace. So can't complain with that. But I think it was £20 million was the mentioned fee. As finding a good goalkeeper is really hard because the selling club will need a good replacement. That's why a lot of clubs value goalkeepers higher in the market than some other positions. I think it's a bit harder for specific clubs to find goalkeepers that fit the bill, like a Manchester United or a Man City or a Liverpool, or clubs that like to have these goalkeepers that are great with their feet. It's because there's not really a huge amount of goalkeepers that are all this fantastic player with like a midfield maestro's ability with the ball at their feet. Not everyone can be Manuel Neuer. Not everybody can be like Edison. Not everyone can be like Alisson. Not everybody can be like Onana. There's not a wide range of goalkeepers that fit that sort of that goalkeeping style, because it's so modern and so specific that it's hard for clubs to really go out there, search for these people and bring them in, or just cherry pick them off the low hanging branches, just cherry pick them off the trees. And fantastic, world class goalkeeper comes in next day. Whereas a club, if you're like Crystal Palace, that don't play this whole crazy or play out from the back, play under pressure and all of that, you like to keep things to a basic, keep things simple, basic. Dean Henderson can do the basics well. He can do the basics well. He's not a world-class goalkeeper. I question if he was even a great goalkeeper. A good goalkeeper, definitely. So I think Crystal Palace, for what they're probably looking for, because I know they've had Gaeta and it wasn't Hennessy. No, Hennessy's at Nottingham Forest. But Gaeta, I think, has probably ran his race now. I think he's sort of on the other side of that hill. I think it's about time that perhaps Palace do bring in the next first team goalkeeping option. And I think Dean Henderson probably fits the bill for them. And as far as a United fans' perspective, I think fantastic that he's going finally. Happy for him, definitely, because you're being sat at a club for half a season or a full season whilst not being happy for any player in any position is just beyond a joke, right? From someone who's never kicked a ball professionally in his life, even I have sympathy for people that just are not happy where they are, despite getting paid the amount of money that they have. Because it's like, well, some people say, well, money can't buy you happiness. It can buy you things that can perhaps entertain you. But when you are a footballer, one of the biggest priorities in your life is to be able to actually play football, right? And that's perhaps what the sort of thinking that Dean Henderson has. So, happy for him to go to Crystal Palace. If we can get 20 million for him, Great, fantastic. I'll take £20 million, and I'll tell you what, we'll get £20 million from Dean Henderson's sale, and watch what happens. None of it will be pushed towards signing Sofian Amrabat. Ha ha! It will be literally they're pinning it on a midfielder sale. That makes no sense. We've sold midfielders. We have sold midfielders. We need a midfielder, but we need to sell more midfielders to bring another midfielder in. That makes no sense. Absolutely ridiculous. But Dean Henderson to Crystal Palace, it's a positive. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. We get a good fee for it. I've got no complaints. I'll be happy with that. Chelsea and Bayern have both signed some random goalkeeper I've never heard of either. I'm judging that that's not Sanchez, because I know Sanchez is a goalkeeper that I think most people have heard of. I can't remember which goalkeeper it is that Chelsea went on to sign afterwards, because I know that I'm pretty sure that they did go on to sign another goalkeeper afterwards. And Bayern, I think Bayern's a weird one. Bayern's a very, very weird one. I still don't understand why Bayern were willing to sell Jan Sommer, even though Neuer is injured. Yeah, a bit of a baffling one, to be honest. I think Neuer, it's a weird one because Neuer's a goalkeeper. Usually you don't associate loads and loads of very long injuries with goalkeepers. So that's a bit of a weird one. So to be honest, I don't really understand. I mean, Jan Sommer, former Bayer, not Leverkusen. No, not Bayern. It's Borussia Mönchengladbach. That was it. That was his former club. Yeah, he's a good goalkeeper, Jan Sommer. He is a good goalkeeper. Very good with his hands. But I don't understand it. I mean, Neuer's probably never going to really be fit. I mean, I can't remember the last time that we've had. Well, the last time Neuer's actually played. Yeah, it's a strange one. De Gea still doesn't have a club. It just proves that he's not good enough for any club. I think it's just more to do with his wage demands, mate. I think that there would be a lot of clubs that would be happy with David De Gea. Here's the problem. It's a bit difficult for a guy that's sort of in his 30s now, demanding about 300k a week, because he'll probably believe very much. He'll fully believe that he can get another contract at this late stage at 300k a week. If he lowers his demands to, like, say, 150k a week, I mean, maybe you'll get a couple of clubs interested at least. But if your personal terms, even for a free agent, you might be good. But trust me, if you're 300k, you better be the perfect fit for what it is that club is looking for. So David De Gea, I believe, will probably be just solely reserved to the wage demands, I'd imagine. Raja, good to see you, mate. Why panic, mate? Panic because we've got 4 days left in the window, for starters, and paying attention to the volume of transfer stories that are now starting to circulate, and the nature in which we are seeing fresh targets. And I'm about to go on to one of these new targets that has suddenly sprung up out of nowhere. Emil Højbjerg, right? This guy, I'm going to speak about this transfer deal in a little bit, but we start to see that when the club are sort of getting to a point of overdrive or a state of overdrive, we see all sorts of names, wacky names you would sit there before the transfer window and think zero chance of this happening. But then it's like everything starts to go a bit crazy, a bit mental. So that's why I've labelled the title "Let the Panic Commence," because now the club are starting to go into a bit of an overdrive. They're starting to get a bit panicky because they know time is really, really running out. United still need to sell Scott McShite. How he's still at a club with 3 days left in the window, I don't know. I mean, this goes into the next point that I was going to cover. The Scott McTominay, it's a story. I believe it is literally just a story. But Scott McTominay and a Ryan Gravenberch swap deal with Bayern Munich. Now, I've seen recently, very recently, that there's a story that's saying that Bayern have called their interest on Scott McTominay, that Thomas Tuchel wouldn't want to have Scott McTominay at Bayern Munich, and I cannot blame them. Bayern's not a club that would be wanting to sign a player like Scott McTominay anyway. So I think straight away, it's more of a, if we were legitimately going to give that story some legs, we would have to be saying, well, we'll give you Scott McTominay and some money on top of it if we're going to do a swap deal. That's the problem with this story about a swap deal. A swap deal usually incurs that you're either paying money or it's a level of a straight exchange value wise of a player going either direction. We're not looking to spend money on Gravenberch. We're looking for a loan potential. That's what I believe. That's where I believe we're at with the Gravenberch, front. And I think if it were to be, just to speak on a hypothetical, if it were to be a straight up swap, I believe that Gravenberch is an upgrade, a massive upgrade on Scott McTominay, 100%. I mean, there's a lot of people that say that it's not going to happen. And I probably would, second that. I believe that it wouldn't happen. I'll be surprised if it does happen, to doing a swap deal there. And I believe that Gravenberch, we get much more joy from having Gravenberch at our club than having Scott McTominay. Gravenberch will offer us more. He's got more promise to it. I've heard of Robert Sanchez, but I don't rate him. And what about this is from the MLS? No idea, to be honest. I don't really know any real names from the MLS. The only real MLS teams I've really heard of is Houston Dynamo, because of Wayne Rooney managing them, but also Inter Miami, David Beckham's team, and signing some of the Barcelona's old guard. And just like that, they've gone from winning absolutely no games, literally losing every single game, to just winning 8 great, or I think it was like 8 games on the bounce or something. Crazy stuff. Because someone Neuer would be back soon, so he left to Inter Milan. I mean, probably on the basis that Inter Milan were the club calling. You come from one top club to another, and it's probably like, well, because I know that there is a better goalkeeper technically at this club, if I go to Inter Milan, I'm essentially being relied upon as a number one there. I mean, that's probably what Jan Sommer's thinking was behind that. I could be a number one at a club, or I could stick at this club where I know I've come in to cover somebody's injury, that once that injury expires and he's back fit again, I would be dropped to the bench. So let me go to a club where I know factually, thinking long term, that I'm entrusted as the number one choice of goalkeeper. So there's probably a bit of, probably a motivator behind doing that move from Bayern to Inter Milan. Plus, it's a solid goalkeeping acquisition on Inter's part after selling off Onana. Neuer doesn't have a great injury record. He's had quite a few injuries for a goalkeeper. He has. It's a really, really strange one, but it's just the nature of his injuries and how long he's out for, because usually a goalkeeper or goalkeeping injuries are never really that long. Unless it's a broken wrist or something, then you can say, well, long injuries. But in terms of your common injury, which is like a bruised finger or other bruises or muscular injuries where perhaps you've landed awkwardly or something like that, mostly it's about a couple of weeks up to a month out, and that's it. But Neuer feels like he's just been out for years. He literally just feels like he's been out for years. I can't remember the last time I've seen Bayern Munich play with Manuel Neuer. I'm talking about going back to the Pep Guardiola days, when there was Ribéry and Robben starting on the wings. That's how far back I've got to go to find or to know factually when Neuer last played for Bayern Munich. At this point, what midfielder are we getting, and who is the left back we are getting? Cuckoo. Now, that is an interesting point. I have not got that on my docket list of subjects to talk about, the left back situation. Now, we've gone, right, kind of feeds a little bit into the whole panic situation. So cool, we've got Alvaro Fernandez at the club that's played some preseason games for us. You could entrust him, but then again, we're already playing Delo at left back. And I've already, by the way, seen people start talking Delo left back going forwards into existence and saying Delo at left back is crucial for us. Shut it. Shut it right now. Delo is not instrumental for us going forward at left back. Stop it. He's a right back. He's played at right back predominantly his whole career, right? We're just trying to find ways in which we can say, well, that's fine. Well, we do this and it's a quick fix, but I think this could work long term. It's like Weghorst number 10. It's like McTominay number 10. It's like McTominay striker. It's a quick fix, but I think it could work for the long term. No, stop it. But supposedly, Brian Bertrand was the first name mentioned as left back cover after Luke Shaw got injured. What's funny to me is Malacia is not actually out for that long. He's out for like another sort of 2-3 weeks, I think. I think it's about that long. Might be around 2 weeks that he's out for, but it's only a muscular injury, so it's not an awful lot of time to wait. But let me find what the word is about left backs. But supposedly, so Fabrizio Romano basically 6 hours ago did say that MUFC will sign a new left back. The decision has been made. Okay. Trying to see where else they have been mentioning left backs. I want to see what other names has been mentioned, but I think Cucurella's probably. I think once Cucurella was mentioned, and this will be on a basis of a loan, a 12-month loan period, is the preferred deal that they want to go forward with. So by the looks of it, I think Cucurella for a 12-month loan from Chelsea looks like the most likely outcome. Not really even that sure how to feel about that, because I think Cucurella's got some good technical abilities going forwards as a left back, because the guy used to play as a left midfielder, a left-sided midfielder in La Liga, I believe. I can't remember what club it was. Was it Getafe? Might have been Getafe. I can't remember which club it was, but he used to play further forwards on the left-hand side. But then he played at left back or left wing back under Graham Potter at Brighton, and since then went to Chelsea, started getting played at left-sided centre back of the three, and got found out very, very quickly. He's not got great defensive abilities about him, but technically on the ball going forwards in this link-up play is pretty good. I don't know how I'm going to feel about that. Possibly might be a blessing in disguise for Ten Hag for a midfielder that can link up well. I call it a midfielder, a left back that can link up well in midfield. But yeah, we'll have to see what the progression on that is, but I'm really not too sure how I'm meant to feel about this. Not even the Saudi League will take on De Gea. Well, I think that's just the Saudi League, and I don't really know, because David De Gea could prove to be quite good in the Saudi League. It's just I don't really know what's going on with David De Gea. Like, I really, really don't, because there's no, like, for me, I don't believe that there's zero interest in David De Gea. There's got to be a wall there that's blocking David De Gea going to a club or any particular club. There must be something that's holding this potential deals going forward, holding them back. Højbjerg isn't good enough. But it's interesting because Tottenham Hotspur, they're happy to sell Højbjerg, and I think a lot of Tottenham fans are happy to see him leave. Interestingly enough, you know what's actually hilarious about the situation? Emil Højbjerg. Do you want to know a funny thing about this? Højbjerg used to play for Erik ten Hag in Bayern München 2, the B club. of Bayern Munich. Højbjerg used to play for Erik ten Hag. He's another one of Ten Hag's boys. We're back again, people. We're back again. The Ten Hag man, the Ten Hag men. It's like the Paul Heyman guys in WWE. It's like we're talking about the Paul Heyman guys. You remember that when Paul Heyman was rocking around, no Brock Lesnar anywhere. Man was walking around with his Ryback and with Curtis Axel, that little insignificant faction that basically died as soon as Brock Lesnar came back. But yeah, it's interesting whether Højbjerg would actually have anything to offer Manchester United. I mean, based off of what he's done for Tottenham, even in a defensive team, and how suspect he has looked at times in that team. Do you know? I don't unless what it is Højbjerg is being viewed as a second midfield option, and that Amrabat's always going to be an acquisition for this club, because otherwise I could potentially see a viable a reason to having Højbjerg introduced to this team as well as Sofyan Amrabat if we have both options going forwards. But if it's just Højbjerg, I don't feel fully comfortable with that. I think we need better certainty and a better guarantee on our midfield depth, but more importantly, the defensive security and the reinforcement of this team's spine, because that's a critical position in the Premier League. And for a big team that plays, controlling possession-based football, you need to have a strong spine, because you need control and you need good ability to recycle possession. If you lose the ball, get the ball back quick. If you can't, maintain a good shape, and then press in twos and threes, and happy days. Don't rate Sanchez, Gaff goalkeeper. I'll tell you what, I was not convinced by him at Brighton. And I think the fact that he's essentially gone, now that I think not Azpilicueta, Kepa Arrizabalaga has gone off to, I believe it's Real Madrid, to be backup goalkeeper there, or he's covering as first team goalkeeper, I believe. And Eduardo Mendy has disappeared to Saudi Arabia. Sanchez being a new number one goalkeeper, that's a bit crazy. That. I'm very, very glad that we ended up with Andre Onana instead of Sanchez or Raya, because I think Sanchez, there's a lot of problems in his game, and not the most reliable goalkeeper. He might have a few howler moments in terms of not just with passing decision or his outgoing balls or anything like that, but rather the saves that are quite simple, that you think, it's right off the concern there, because it's a shot that's really underpowered or it's just indirect, and the goalkeeper usually he's got all of his angles covered, it's all chilled out, relaxed, right, no problems at all. And then Sanchez then fumbles it like a Rob Green, like he might have the Rob Green factor somewhere in there. But yeah, I don't really rate Sanchez that much. Maybe the Saudi League will take him up. I think that's in reference to David De Gea. They might do, because I know the Saudi League's summer continues on past our European clubs' deadlines. I think they get another week or something in their transfer window, which will be interesting to see how many clubs get poached, because players can still leave clubs despite their transfer windows being closed. So you can't acquire anybody, but you could lose people. That's going to be a big concern, especially if you're Liverpool. I think the Sharks are swimming around Mohamed Salah right now. They can smell blood in the water. Bayern ain't that stupid. There's no chance they're bringing in McShite. That's more to the point with the news story that came out very, very quickly, dismissing interest in Scott McTominay. So you're not going to see Scott go anywhere. Amrabat news has gone quiet, kind of worried about knowing Man United, they'll at least bid and then give up. Well, that's the problem, is I have the theory that they don't want to sign Amrabat. I think they'll try, right? That all of these stories could be panic related. and it simply be as that. If we're very, very busy, we're got about 50,000 targets that we're looking at the same time. It's just like, well, okay. I mean, if people cut between the lines and actually read the fine print, the small print, you can see that it's all, you know, it's all like made up. It's all spin. It's all PR related, and we're in a position right now where I believe that what the fans want to see this club doing is what Eric Ten Hag wants to see this club doing. But the problem is that we've started the window off with Ten Hag being backed to now coming to a point where we've got 4 days going on, 3 days left in the transfer window. That the manager we're back into the point where the manager is not being backed. He's not got all of his signings. He's not sold everybody. So we've gone through another summer transfer window. The manager hasn't been backed, but we've heard all summer from all of these big United accounts and transfer accounts saying, well, this summer has been revolutionary. It's been a summer like Man United hasn't seen before. And the reason for that is because we signed Mason Mount on like the 29th, I believe it was, of June. Oh, you signed him a couple of days, one day before July begins. So you broke the curse that United don't sign anybody in June. Absolutely. Absolutely full of nonsense. Full of nonsense. But I'll tell you what, the whole talk about the Amrabat deal not happening because we can't sell Donny van der Beek um, or Scott McTominay, which is hilarious to me because I addressed this at the start of the stream. If you go back, where I said, well, they started the season off or the summer off saying sell to buy. They started off the Amrabat interest with either Fred or Donny needing to be sold. We sold one of those two players, but the bid that was ready to be activated, suddenly that bid that was ready to go disappeared. Where did that money go? Where did that bid go? Because if you're structurally set up to submit a bid to somebody, you don't just turn around tomorrow and go, oh, you're talking about the bid that we're going to send to Sofyan Amrabat. What bid? What bid are you talking about? I mean, there was something there. Yeah, I mean, it was on the table. I guess it was ready to go. But yeah, we seem to have forgotten about that. I don't know where that bid's gone. Um, it's like it's absolutely mental that it's literally was full steam ahead with Sofyan Amrabat once Fred or Donny was sold. Well, Fred's been sold, so where's the full speed ahead? Mm-hmm. So those that news has basically been buried and forgotten about. Is Bayern one of the UCL favourites? Too early to know. I think they will be definitely feeling good about their chances. Harry Kane getting 2 goals in their home game against Augsburg, 3-1 result there. I think they'll be feeling good about it. I think they'll be feeling quite confident, but I think it's going to really depend because, as we know, Thomas Tuchel, since he's gone in there, Bayern have not been, performing optimally. But I think sometimes if your team isn't performing optimally, but you've got some star power in there, sometimes just a sort of like a 7 out of 10, 6 or 7 out of 10 squad performance with a superstar in your team bagging you goals left, right, and centre can sometimes be enough to get you very, very far in Champions League. Whether they'll go all the way to winning it or get into the final, we'll have to see. Personally, I believe that with the introduction of Harry Kane, puts them in a very, very, very big contention for the Champions League. But beforehand, I said, I don't see them going that far because they haven't got that same star power that they once had with Robert Lewandowski. They don't. And Thomas Tuchel has not really done wonders being their manager either. I think Manor Solomon would have been not bad a free deal. Yeah, I mean, I think I'd seen him once play for Spurs in pre-season, and I thought he did an all right job. Um, I think the question really for that is how much game time is he going to see with the likes of Kulusevski, with the likes of Heung-min Son playing in that team, but also how much we should expect to see Tottenham Hotspur rotate with Ange Postecoglou, because he's going to have a lot of games to play. He's going to have a lot of high intensity, high energy games. So you've got to maximise the full depths of your squad. And I think Manor Solomon, I think they've got Fulham tomorrow night, I believe it is, in the initial rounds of the Carabao Cup. So I think we might see Solomon play tomorrow night. I believe it's tomorrow night that they play. Let me just double check that for you guys. Let's have a quick ganders. So EFL Cup, yeah. So Tottenham Hotspur, where are you? Yeah, so Tottenham Hotspur kick off tomorrow night, 7:45 at Craven Cottage. So Solomon might play there because you got to rotate. You got to rotate a bit. And Tottenham played on the Saturday early lunchtime kickoff. Sunday, Monday got a bit of turnaround time, and you've got Burnley on the following weekend. So you might start to see the first essence of rotation for Tottenham Hotspur. So quite possibly. Dalot can play certain games here and then at left back. Yeah, and I think that's what it should be. Dalot, because obviously he's competing with Wan-Bissaka, I think having good competition for your positions in the squad is 100% it's no foregone conclusion. That having two similarly quality players playing in the same position provokes good competition and ups the levels from both individual standpoints. It helps. It really, really does. So I believe that Dalot's got qualities who can play left back, but what I'm seeing that I don't want to see is people saying, well, Diogo Dalot from now on at left back, and that's it. It's all she wrote. You don't worry about right back Dalot ever again. Worry about left back Dalot, because that's the newest flavour of the month. Malacia will probably be back 2 to 4, maybe 5 weeks' time. Yeah, so not a massive injury. I mean, people are talking about Luke Shaw potentially being out until November. Man United can sign one player every month. Do you know what? Maybe if the club decide to actually start signing players, I'll tell you what I would be somewhat more impressed with is if a club actually were to sign players outside of the window, like, and say, well, not like just after the window's shut, but before the window opens, signing players would like the within the month prior to the window opening, sign some players then, because then some manager is just like, well, cool. So I'll finish off this season, go away, have a bit of food for thought, come back, everyone's here, I'm ready to go. Can only mean positives if you get a signing done much earlier, but it really does feel like that we are sort of reduced. It's like a phone's top up, a mobile phone on a pay as you go. It's only so many calls you can make before you have to top it up again, and it's like we're running out of credit. We run out of credit. Man United have got no more credit on the phone, and they need to go top up again to sign another player. Buy Amrabat or some CM. FFP could come. Manchester United have got money to get out of it when they find. The funny thing is about FFP is that FFP is an easy way to throw the fan base into thinking, oh, well, now we do have to feel sympathetic for the board. Do we, though? Do we, though? Because, let's be honest, if ever there was a truth in FFP, the board look for sympathy from the fans, but when in actuality, if there's FFP concerns, the fans need to be even more pissed off at the board because they put us in a compromised position, right? It's their fault that we would have FFP concerns. So if at the end of the day, FFP is actually any truth to it, then it's not like, oh yeah, you got it wrong, Rose, you got it wrong. There was FFP, right? So you're mad at me, but at the same time, John Murtaugh, Richard Arnold, and co get off scot-free for mishandling this club for that long that we're now hindered by the summer transfer windows. We are hindered. We cannot do what we need to do because everyone was so bad at their jobs for that long that they buried us, absolutely buried us. But the fans would be the problem, and maybe that's what ends up happening. I don't believe so. I think this board are masters of the PR agencies. You know, they've probably got their own PR agency advertisement out there. It's like, oh, you could write for Manchester United today. The criteria we are looking for is throwing lies out to 1 million people in the space of 1 week. See if you can do it and test yourselves. Are you up to the challenge? And it's probably something like that. It might be the interview stage or the interview process for applying for a job when writing for Manchester United. How many lies can you spew out to the public? No bid for that Brazilian kid, Marcus Leonardo. How come? Um, I haven't even looked in to Marcus Leonardo. I have no idea who that is. I might have seen that name before, but I have not the slightest clue. Let me find out. So was that Santos? Centre forward. Yeah, no idea. So I take it he's gone to Roma then. Don't know who Marcus Leonardo is, unfortunately. Wish I had ball knowledge though. But another forward. I mean, I'll tell you what. I'm surprised Chelsea didn't go and sign him then. Because they like to go and grab just some random kids off the street and just be like, here, have a Chelsea shirt and a contract that lasts about a decade. Uh, well, it's like if you go and sign for Chelsea, by the time your contract expires, you will have grandkids. Literally, you won't be a parent by the time you sign with Chelsea. By the time your contract expires with Chelsea Football Club, you'll have grandkids. They'll keep you tied down that long. Alvaro Fernandez go to loan move would personally keep him. Possibly, I think if we get a loan left back in, Fernandez will probably be loaned. Uh, so Brandon Williams, for example, I mean, loaning Brandon Williams, I mean, why didn't we sell him? You know, I think we wanted to sell him for the longest time, did we not? You know, it's quite funny that you know Brandon Williams posted on his Instagram, "Let the games begin." It was like, look at me wearing this United top. Look at me, I'm going to be a United player this season. Gets loaned out to Ipswich Town the very next week. Ah, time to sack the social media team. It's crazy, crazy, but he should be sold, not loaned. And what's your opinion on Lukaku going to Roma? I was genuinely thinking, well, Lukaku, who's that? And then I heard you say Roma. I was just like, straight away, that is Lukaku. Lukaku. But I swear there was somebody, Cristante, I think it was, who at Roma, someone there already has stated that he has no idea why Roma are signing Lukaku. A player for Roma does not understand. He literally said this. He does not understand this, what Lukaku is going to bring to this team. He has no idea. You'd probably, if someone makes a comment about a pending teammate or a future teammate, that you speak highly of a player, that you speak, oh yeah, no, you know, I think he'll give us lots of goals, even if it's something so frequently peddled like that and so simplistic. You probably sit there and say, well, you know what, you know what, I think he could be good for us. You know, great striker, very strong, very quick, you know, deceptively fast. He's got great headers. Who, even though half of it probably isn't true, what's mental, absolutely mental, is that there's literally a player sat there at Roma. It's just like, I do not know what he's going to even bother, like, bring to us. I don't even know. uh, Brandon Williams has got the most punchable face. Mate, you and Lee Gunner believes that with Kai Havertz. It's just like when he's signed, it's just like, oh, he's got a face. I just want to punch it. I'll punch the lights out of that face. To be fair, Kai Havertz has got a fuck ugly face. Like, I mean, this mug is there's nothing special. This mug is nothing special. But Kai Havertz, you have a punchable face. Oh, my days. Bet Lukaku was going to bring PR drama shows and 10 interviews. Going to bring Megan the Stallion for a twerk fest. Probably invite Kivior's girlfriend to it. You know, Miss Twerk Champion, as she goes by. Have a twerk fest on like a Colosseum or something. Twerk fest like a gladiator setup, except it's Megan Thee Stallion versus someone else, Kim Kardashian or Kanye West's new girlfriend. It's all clapped. It's like the life of Lukaku's literally just turned into one big episode of Love Island or Jersey Shore. Or bloody Gavin and Stacey or something like that. Or Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That's another one. He's probably turned into another case of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That's probably what Lukaku's life has turned into. But yeah, I'm going to wrap up again real quick with Højbjerg shock deal. So this Emil Højbjerg shock deal, Emil Pierre Højbjerg. Okay, yeah, Dean Henderson, 15.5 or 15 plus 5 million pounds. Just seeing stuff with the what's it face. Rico Henry was another left back name touted. I wouldn't have minded Rico Henry, to be fair. I wouldn't have minded him. He can deliver quite a venomous cross. I do believe that he's got a whip on his cross, definitely. Better defensively as well than Cucurella, I believe. Rico Henry would actually have been a pretty good left back signing, with all things considered. Marcos Alonso as well. Oh my god! Apparently, the offer to Marcos Alonso is is a 2-year contract, with the first year being a loan deal. Wow. Okay. But yeah, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. So this sort of ties into the perception, right, based off of the title of the stream, that letting the panic commence, because Højbjerg was not a target that was mentioned for Manchester United before the transfer window opened. He wasn't a plausible target in June. He wasn't a plausible target in July, and he hasn't been a plausible target right up to the point of day before yesterday. But then the last sort of 24 hours, we've seen Højbjerg is now lined up for a potential shock move as Tottenham look to sell the player. And it's just like, if you want to say that if it was a planned signing, you would have said, well, the interest was there since for at least 2 to 3 weeks, right? You'd say that there's a plan in the pipeworks, and you say, yeah, that guy, we will take him. That we believe that player is going to improve our team, that he fits what the manager wants, he fits the project, he fits the process, and that's going to be the target. Like, if he's in your pipeworks, if he's in the pipeline for at least a few weeks, then you can say, right, okay, plan signing, cool, lovely stuff. If it's something that comes up, in the space of 24 hours with days left in the transfer window, that to me categorizes it as a panic buy, and I think that's why It's based off of why I've named my stream title "So Let the Panic Commence," because I believe that that's what the club are now going to start dealing in is panic tokens. Panic tokens. Sofian Amrabat, if we sign him, wouldn't be a panic signing because it would have been part of the plans for a while. But the actions or the reaction would be on a panic basis, but it's not a panic buy. A panic buy would be like Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, when you are linked to him one day and then you're signing him pretty much the next day when you've got days left in the transfer window. So I believe that whether you think he's good enough or not, some people rate him. Some people think, oh, I think he's a good player, but let's not mistake it. It's at this point it's a panic buy, and I wouldn't put it past this board with it now being the case that it is officially going to. It's panic buy season now. Oh, now Bayern's looking at apparently looking at Chalobah, possibly. I mean, I know with Ryan Gravenberch that the intention is to offload him. But as far as we are going, I mean, the best we can do for just bringing the player straight in would be a loan deal. I don't know how Bayern are feeling about it, whether they believe that they're happy for a loan deal to happen with the obligation to buy in the summer following. Maybe that they're open to that, but the problem really is what is whether we actually have the plans to actually go and do something like this. Because Ryan Gravenberch, we've had this name linked to us for probably about a month now. We've probably had Gravenberch because I think that's probably as dates as far back to when the initial jury came out that Bayern were happy to let Gravenberch go. And that's when I think clubs like Liverpool, like United, and maybe a few others have been circling. You know, start looking at Gravenberch. He's on the market. He's available. But it's whether if Liverpool put a bid on the table to buy him and Man United going for a loan deal, I believe Bayern will choose Liverpool over Manchester United's loan deal. That's so to me, it's like if you're going to go for Gravenberch at this point, make that deal and offer a good one. Make it a good one, because I can guarantee we probably will see rival competition to signing the player. Right, once the actions begin, once the talk is done, and actions become I call it the foreplay, becomes the front, becomes the headlines, right? That actions are now being taken to securing players and acquiring signings. That's when everybody else starts to click into gear and also start acting on putting bids in and signing players. So maybe Liverpool, they've probably recognised players that they want to get, but they're not going to act or activate until very, very late on, or if a rival club goes to try and sign them. So, but yeah, for me, Højbjerg, I believe that's just in the state of a panic buy. Not that I think that Højbjerg is a terrible player. I think if you sign Højbjerg, I do not, under any circumstances, want Højbjerg to be the only acquisition. We can't just have just only Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. We can't. It has to be someone else as well. For me, Sofian Amrabat's got to be that guy, and then you can sign Højbjerg as well, or Gravenberch. You know, that we're talking about the extra signings here. So Højbjerg and Gravenberch for me fit into the criteria of the extra midfield signing. And make no mistake about it, Ten Hag wants to. He wants Amrabat, and he wants one more. Who the extra is, I don't know. No, would get Henry or Region than Sideshow Bob. I mean, that's the thing. Great technically, Sideshow Bob. Great technically on the ball. I don't really see him getting in amongst the goals. Don't really see him with good final delivery, but you don't also see him that good in his defensive ability. So I think if you sign Cucurella, that's literally just for the sake of passing 5 yards in midfield. That's pretty much it. Be Mr. Inverted. That's literally what he'd be used as. Going to be inverted. Sideshow Bob. Bob Show Side. Yeah, that's what you're going to be named. Bob Show Side. You're going to be that inverted. United has been reactive club under Glazers. I think always will be. Yeah, and I think it's also reciprocated by a board that sees no justification to go the extra mile, to be proactive, to be 2 steps ahead of the opposition clubs, of rival clubs. It's not. It's like when we talk about failed transfer windows, we're never just sitting there saying, "Oh, the Glazers' fault." We also sit there and say, "Well, the board as well," right? I've seen someone on Twitter say, in response to the Højbjerg news, that oh my God, we need a director of football, and I wouldn't disagree with that. We do. We need a director of football, because I don't want to be sat here every single summer with days left on the transfer window, seeing us get linked to random names just completely out of left field, saying, "Oh, shock transfer, we might be in for him." They keep thinking that just constantly recycling the same politics of acting late in the window with shock panic buys, right? And they are categorized as that we are going to be excited, that excited is going to be a reaction for it. But you can only do it so many times. You can only do it so many times before everyone susses it out, and it's just like, cool. So we have a very, 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 very slow summer transfer window with a hectic final week. We also have a non-existent January. We will maybe loan a player in. We'll maybe, just maybe, sign one player if we can be bothered, and that's pretty much it. That's the club. That's the club politics. We're tied. We are hands tied. Big T, good to see you, mate. Hope you're well. Højbjerg suits a defensive setup. Ten Hag don't play that way, and does not want him because he's not attacking enough, and that's fair. And I believe that with a Sofyan Amrabat deal, that provides defensive stability in your midfield. But essentially, what the talk is with Amrabat is that you could have Amrabat stay back with Casemiro actually being the ball carrier in midfield and taking it forwards. Gravenberch is best at attacking midfield. We don't need more attacking midfielders. Personally, I believe what he used to play for Ten Hag at Ajax was a sort of ball carrying style of midfielder. So he wasn't like you sit next to Casemiro type midfielder, but where he received the ball, he'd do quite well with linking up further up the pitch, but carrying the ball. So like Christian Eriksen, a bit more pace and energy to him, a bit more footballing IQ, but he has got defensive abilities available there. So you might as well say it's like Mason Mount. What I'm assuming, what everyone else is assuming we signed Mason Mount for, to be box to box, but he's got more energy than Christian Eriksen. Whereas Gravenberch, I believe, is actually, I think Rajat's just said it here as well, that Gravenberch is more box to box midfielder, and I think in corporation to how Bayern play football, where he has been used. I mean, I haven't really played or watched Bayern play that much at all, but I think he's sort of been, rotation with what's his face, Leon Goretzka. And Goretzka's not really the guy that plays in behind a striker. He plays further back, where you got Kimmich that sits. Kimmich sits, and Goretzka carries the ball forwards. And I think Gravenberch is more of the same, similar type. He's utilised a similar way. I've watched him play attacking midfield and right wing. To be fair, though, that was under Thomas Tuchel. And Thomas Tuchel is a bit of a strange one, bit of a strange case. Think also Julian Nagelsmann. Funny setups, funny shapes on a pitch, and a peculiar style or approach to a game. But Gravenberch, I think, it's a bit like Bruno Fernandes, right? A bit like Bruno Fernandes. The guy we know factually his best positions in middle of the pitch, right? But we've seen him playing on the right wing. It makes no sense. It really doesn't. And we've said no, stop playing Bruno out on the right. We're worried that Mason Mount's going to start being played on the right or the left, or out wide on the wings. For some reason, midfielders get utilised from the centre of the park and pushed out wide. No idea why that is, and I think the way that he's been utilised at Bayern is probably not been what his forte is. I know what Ten Hag likes to do, and the role that he essentially plays, or where he lines up on the starting 11 on the team sheet, is in that position where the ball carrier plays. So you have the attacking midfielder that plays further forwards, but there's the ball carrier that this guy's going up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, and you have someone else that then sits deeper and controls the tempo, controls the tempo of the game. So for me, that's probably why Gravenberch is wanting to be sold, because if he gets played in all these different positions and offers not what Bayern are looking for, might as well let him go. What right wing? I don't know, mate. It might as well not call it right wing. Well, when Bruno plays there, you can't call it right wing because there's nothing right about it. It's all wrong. Casemiro has been struggling to hold midfield on his own. If he goes carrying forward and leaves Amrabat behind, will Amrabat not struggle alone? I think what we have, though, is Casemiro has the defensive know-how, because the thing is that where Casemiro and Amrabat perhaps will play is that it's a very attack-heavy system with a midfielder that carries the ball further forward. The average positioning of the team then pushes up. If we haven't got a midfielder that can carry the ball but keep that ball well, the team's average position doesn't push forward. It stays where it is, but it's just you're rotating possession all the time. So Amrabat, where his forte is in the middle and strictly in the middle, great with breaking up play, defensive positions, great at taking up those areas, but his range of passing is phenomenal. So he's great to dictating pace of play, great to dictating the build-ups. Casemiro, we've started hearing talk about Casemiro. Oh, his link-up play is not that great. His range of passing is not that great. He's just a destroyer. So if you've got someone that can carry the ball, right, can carry the ball, if you've got someone in behind, plays the range of passing, Casemiro can go forwards, but, it's where the positioning, if you've got someone who can push the team up with the dictator of play sitting further behind, but Casemiro's got an engine on him. The guy will come back, and when you need to defend, you've got two midfielders that break up play when you need to defend. So there's two players that can play and fulfill the destroyer role. And I think that's probably where the concept of having a strong spine will come from. If we have an Amrabat Casemiro midfield partnership, is you've got qualities that complement each other, where one lacks the other one has, but both, if you need to defend, sit there, and it's a wall. It's a defensive block that good luck getting through it. And that for me, that that specific feat about having the Amrabat Casemiro partnership is what this club has been missing. We've seen it last season. I mean, who partners Casemiro? Fred, not really great with tracking his runners. I mean, he's got a lot of energy. He's quick to close a man down and put in the challenge, but not great with watching the runners. In probably once or twice, perhaps defensively suspect in the games that he has played, and not that great with. He's great to carrying the ball, but not great with his range of passing. So you missed a few key features about having Fred in the midfield. And we saw that, he was all right. He's probably the best partnership that Casemiro had. Casemiro and Fred was probably the best partnership that we had. We had Casemiro Eriksson, but we saw that he didn't have the legs to do the job for 38 games a season. So, what Fred offered was okay, but when you go and see the sort of performances where the midfield has been completely bypassed, you need someone who's going to stop a bypass, someone who's going to close up an entire sector of the pitch, and someone like an Amrabat can and will do that. Casemiro needs to have extra protection for home games and a solid partner for tough away games. And you know what? That's the thing. That's true, because we look like we don't have the same level of control in the away games as we do the home games. And that's probably the case by default. We saw Christian Eriksen, of course, the midfield got cut through quite easily, but with the ball at feet, we looked more in control. We looked more possession based. Whereas when we had Mount, the guy's not really box to box. He is much more further forward, per average positioning, but in the middle, as a creator. That for me is where I've perhaps seen Mason Mount's best work. Although it's not that great, let's be real. And what we need is just someone that, when we have these tough away games where perhaps the attack is not going to, or the home defense is going to soak up our attacking pressure quite considerably, that we need someone that we're ready for that when the counter attack comes, when we have guys like Foden running at us, like Haaland running at us, like Darwin Núñez running at us, or even by this case, you can talk about midfielders as well, like in midfield battles, right? Where we talk about where games are won and lost in midfield. It's like the midfield combinations we have don't prioritize with the control in our away games. So what we end up having is we don't have possession. We're out of control of the ball. They can dictate the play, and our defense gets picked apart, or our midfield gets picked apart, but our defense usually can soak up the individual battles, like Martinez Varane, soak up the individual battles with the opposing strike force. You've got Wan-Bissaka at right back, great with the one-on-one duels, but it's the midfield and the basically where we take up average positions. And I think Sofyan Amrabat, much more defensively minded player, is someone who is thinking more defensively than offensively. Casemiro can go forwards, right? But when we need to defend and have a strong core, Casemiro and Amrabat come together and completely just fortify the center of the park, right? And talk about strong partnerships. I mean, it's like, for example, Yves Bissouma and Papis Matar, I believe that's his name. Those two, I mean, Sarr, I don't rate I don't rate that highly. But they've got qualities that complemented each other, and you saw a good balance to the functions of that midfield. And we want the same. We do. We want the same. We haven't got the same at the moment. If you sign an Amrabat, you can have the same. That when you just need to shut up shop, bang, wall right in front of you. good luck breaking it down. Nunes is perfect to carry the ball, and you'll see him do that role for Manchester City, because I know that he's, I think City are getting the breakthrough with Nunes now. Good signing for them. Definitely a good signing for him. Gravenberch is similar, not exactly ideal. No. I mean, I think, what was it? I think it was De Jong was used the same way that for Ajax that Ten Hag used Gravenberch. Yeah, I think he was used in the same role. Obviously, Gravenberch didn't do as good a job as Frankie De Jong, because Frankie De Jong, that guy's just generational talent. Gravenberch can do the same role, obviously not as good. Maybe with Manchester United, we want Frankie De Jong, but Frankie De Jong doesn't want us. But we need a role to be filled out right now, and Gravenberch can fill that role that we need. Are they both quick enough to get back from corners? I watched Rashford and Antony chasing Forest goal scorers for the first goal. I'll tell you what, though, Big T, mate, that situation right there should just never have happened anyway. The fact that we took a corner and we conceded a goal from a corner at Old Trafford, and not only that, but that early in the game as well, which was absolutely just mental. Absolutely mental. The fact that Rashford and Antony were the last players, and neither of them are defensively gifted, let's be real. Got pace to burn, but no real sort of defensive know-how. So for me, that was always going to be a problem. And you know what? Maybe Amrabat is positioned fairly close by to where Rashford and Antony would be in set-piece scenarios, because the guy's not very, very tall. So I think where Casemiro fills the box for set pieces, Amrabat's probably one of the first line of his defensive insurance if there is a turnover of possession from set pieces. So, do you know what? I think that's promising. I think there's probably a good chance that maybe you'd see Rashford and Antony as last line of defence yet again, but Amrabat's an insurance policy sat right in front of them. Maybe. We don't know how Amrabat would be used in this team, but we can assume. Donny van de Beek is probably technical enough to cover the Cassie pivot role for us. Defensively, not so much. I think as offensively, I think the guy's got some good link-up potential, really, really good link-up potential, and I think he's got an eye for a pass. Really does have an eye for a pass. As far as link-ups or the execution, I think we will need to still see if he's got the level of execution. But I think he's got the head on his shoulders to fill that role, to fill an advanced midfield role. But as far as the defensive execution, I'm not I wouldn't be very, very confident in trusting Van der Beek in actually being the pivot player. Maybe as if Casemiro is not available, that Amrabat plays in the pivot or plays the defensive role, that the defensive help or cover might be sort of good enough to see out game, probably at home. As far as away is concerned, it'd still probably be a bit of a struggle or nightmare to watch. Geordie, yo, what's up? Welcome to the stream, Geordie. I don't believe I've seen you here before. How are you doing? Hope things are all well with you. Big ups to you. Welcome to the channel. Big T, your thoughts on Terry calling out Lee recently? Was just watching Jez and he don't like Terry. I'll tell you what it is, right, with Terry and Lee, that I feel like it's like worlds collide. Outside of, like living life as just two human beings, right? Just two blokes. They get on really well, right? I believe that they get on really well outside. I don't know if that's true or not, but I believe they do get on well outside of things, outside of the shows, outside of where the cameras are switched on. And when you're live on the air, The thing is that I believe that it's like where Terry has patience for a lot of things in the process of football, Lee doesn't. And Lee likes results, not the storyline, right? He likes results. He wants to see that the end goal or the end result is one that you are successful, that one that is more of a guarantee that it fits the notion that to competing in elite level football is to win the grandest honors, the greatest honors. Whereas Terry, I believe, there's it's like he will come at you with the method to the madness type thing, and he tries to see everything from. He tries to explain everything from like a complex standpoint, and it's he speaks at times a bit like a politician. I feel like with Terry, he does speak like a politician. I think both guys in their own respects, right, will have good points, compelling points, compelling arguments. Both guys do, and I do have the world of respect for both of them. And I think it's just where it. Do you know with like the Ty and Claude partnership that they had once, where it was just like, yeah, Ty is the delusion, and he's just like Mr. Positive, whereas Claude was like, well, he's the realist guy, and when Claude says something, Ty says something back, and then they just start. Then it just goes right back and forth forever. Like it's hilarious to watch, right? It's great to watch, but and do you know what? I mean, just reading your comment here. He seems to bait people and set traps so he can laugh at them for clicks. I think for him, it's all. He's got a way in which he can have a bit of a laugh about certain things, and I know sometimes with Lee, when he goes and does a show, and Terry, like the previous day or on that same day earlier, he'd be talking about, well, he's like, Terry puts out a video of like I'll say whether it's clickbait or not, and I think there is an element of a clickbait to Terry's video titles, definitely. But sometimes there are joking elements about it as well. So it's not like he's genuinely like, oh, I've caught Lee Gunner out here. I've got to put it on the internet. Oh, yeah, look at this. Like Lee Gunner, he's been caught out. I don't think it's that. I think there's an element of a joking nature to it. But there's always like what I said, their method to the madness in the way Terry thinks regarding the points that they debate on, right? I think there's just a bit of a banterous sort of relationship in content creation. Obviously, a little bit of clickbait in there, is because it does generate clicks. 100%, it does generate clicks, but that's just, I guess, in various extents, the nature of football YouTube beast. The football YouTube beast. I think there is just an element of a bit of clickbait here, a bit of clickbait there, a bit of poking and prodding the bears to garner reactions. I think that's part of it. It's like the skin in the game, I guess. But I don't think it's one of those cases where it's like hard feelings are shared generally between the two. I think, but there you go. I don't know what discussions go on or how the discussions or interaction goes on behind the camera. Do you think some of it is scripted and discussed before going on camera? I think there is usually a green room scenario or the backstage area. And I know with the Football Terrace that a lot of the the guests on the show generally sit in the green room or the backstage area, and I think whether they wait there, I think they sort of communicate in the private chat for StreamYards, because you get the public chat as a guest, but then also the private chat, and they probably discuss with each other in the private chat before. and it's probably before they go live, they do basically cover what the talking points are going to be, so you know roughly what it is you're going to be asked or along what line. So there's an element of script as far as it's like cue cards, I'd say, not say cue cards to decipher trying to force people to say something, but rather cue cards as to which direction the show goes in. And everything else that comes with it is much more natural, is much more unscripted, right? And there's, I think, most of what the Football Terrace does is sort of cue. That's like it's cue card based, but the reaction and the interaction between people on there is probably genuine. It's just, topic specific, and I think there are other shows out there that I think are a lot more watered down channels, and I think some of us can take a punt as to which channels these are that perhaps do have a script that they've sort of got to read along the lines of, not like word for word, like a Vince McMahon WWE script, but more like it's so basically we want you to talk about this and we'll talk about this and that and talk about it in this light, and then off you go. That's basically what you got to do. And pre-recorded stuff as well. Pre-recorded shows generally get discussed, and because you can get cuts in there as well, right? You can get cuts, and the editor of said pre-recorded videos, like in this StreamYards thing, right? I've got the option to pause like pause and start my my video recording, so I could end up at one point releasing a video where it's got random cuts in it, where all of a sudden I teleport to the other side of the screen and just carry on as though I've seamlessly continued talking, but I've actually paused it, gone over a few things and then decided, yep, that's perfect. Now I'll say that. Like, I could do that. I mean, there's quite a few pre-recorded stuff that will be like that. But as far as live shows go, I think there's more of a prompt direction as to how the show goes, but what gets discussed or what people actually say on it in the response to a question, that is much more genuine based, and obviously it will lead to unique shows or unique situations on said shows. But anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap things up there because we nearly gone on for 2 hours. I suppose it's kind of warranted after I didn't stream yesterday. I guess it is warranted because me not streaming yesterday when I said that I would on Saturday. Was it Saturday night? Yes, it was Saturday night. I said that I would stream on the Sunday, but I didn't do. But this is basically me. It's trying to. It's like an apology. Consider it my apology to you. Ten Hag, a Bebe Deliso with this with the closing comment, shall we say? Ten Hag, I want to Amrabat and Todibo, Cucurella and Alonso to United is better. I don't know about Alonso and I don't know about Cucurella, but Amrabat and perhaps Todibo, yes, 100%. I need to put notifications on. I keep missing the start of streams. It's a weird one with YouTube. It is a weird one because I think there's quite a few channels that I'm subscribed to where I've got notifications switched on, and it's to all notifications, but I don't actually get told or get a little bell ping because I know I've got them on for United Stand, because I used to be a member on that channel, but I'm not anymore. But then also Long-Haired Yeti's Cave. Those are the two channels that I've got the notification bell switched on for. But on Alonso, why swap an abuser for a murderer? I don't even know. To be honest, I must be missing something with that. I must be missing something with that, Big T. I must be missing something. You'll have to enlighten me on that. But anyways, I'm going to wrap things up there, people. Thank you very, very, very much to all of those people that have tuned in today. Big ups to everybody that has liked the stream on 6 likes there. If you're watching, haven't done so already, make sure you just top up them likes as well before you head out. And big ups to everybody. If you have not subscribed, make sure you are subscribing. We are literally at this immovable goal of, movable goal. We're at the movable point of 91 subscribers. And we're stuck with 9 subs away. We keep going to 92, then someone keeps them unsubbing. So we're sort of going back and forth. But we'll eventually get there, people. We'll eventually get there. So big ups to everybody who is subscribing. Okay. Also went drink driving, killed his passenger in years 19. Okay. Definitely irresponsibilities in that case, 100%, because I don't have patience for drink drivers. I really, really don't, because it's like people talk about it all the time. They say, oh, drink driving, if you go out clubbing, you go out to a pub or something, or, be responsible. What the problem is that people don't care. It's like if you're drunk, you know something's wrong, but you don't have the emotional capacity or control to actually hold yourself back from doing what your brain tells you this is wrong. So it's like you get into a car whilst you're absolutely shit-faced drunk, plastered, off your rocker, tits McGee, and you're sat there at the wheel, it's like, this is wrong. I should not be driving. Let me carry on. It's like drunk driving for some reason is, I don't understand. That's what I meant. Get rid of a beta for a killer. Christ almighty. We're done out here, bro. We're finished out here. The next thing you know, Big T, the next thing you know is the Paratici bloke who got a criminal case against him for fraudulent activities ends up becoming our new director of football. That would really be the icing on the cake. Imagine that, a crime gang starts to take over Manchester United. Can you imagine that? Absolute disaster waiting to happen. But anyways, big ups to everybody. I'm dropping off now. Everybody go and enjoy the rest of your Mondays, whatever it may be that you're doing. Big ups to everybody. Thank you very, very much for watching, and we'll see you again on the next one. Ciao for now.